Hi, this is Bonnie Barker with BonnieBayCrochet.com, and today we're going to learn to make the beginning knit hat. This is the striped hat with a pom-pom, and this is part of the beginning knitting for crocheters series on my Bonnie Bay Crochet YouTube channel. For this project, you're going to need the one scan of the Caron Chunky Cakes. Now, you're not going to need the entire scan. If you made the cowl, you should have enough left over from that scan from the cowl to complete a hat. For the crochet hooks, we're going to use the same that we did for the cowl. We're going to use a number 11, which is an 8mm. This is a circular set of needles rather. And you're also going to need a size US 13 or 9.0mm circular set. If you have a 16-inch, that should be plenty for what we're going to do. If you have longer cords like I do on these knitting needles, I'll show you how you can twist them and make them work for a smaller project. Okay, you're going to need some other things as well. Don't forget to have a pair of scissors handy. And when we get to the pom-pom, I'm going to be using a purchased pom-pom. You can make one if you'd like. I do have a video on that. But if you have one like this that you can purchase at any store or online, you're also going to need a small button and a sewing needle and some thread to sew that to the inside of the hat to secure the pom-pom when we're finished. Okay, I also recommend that you have a measuring tape so that you can be sure that you are getting the proper gauge for your project. Okay, for the gauge to measure the knit stitches, using knit stitches, I am getting approximately 13 stitches equals 5 inches. So you want to stay within that gauge so that the hat will fit reasonably. The hat that we're going to make is approximately 20 inches of the circumference around the head. Okay, let's go ahead and get started. This is, I'm going to be using this size 11 or the 8.0mm circular knitting needles. And I've gone ahead and I've pulled off approximately 4 feet or 48 inches. I'm just estimated for a tail so that I can do the double cast on. We're going to make a slip knot. So go ahead and make a little loop. And then we're going to pull the yarn through to make a little slip knot. And then that's what we are going to put on to our knitting needle. Now remember, the long strand is the part that goes to your yarn supply. That's the part you're going to go ahead and load like you would normally for holding your yarn for knitting or crochet. The other strand's going to go on the outside of your thumb, and then we're going to hold both strands in our hand. Let's see. Both hold. Let's try that again. Get the left hand towards the yarn supply, and then the tail goes over the thumb, and then we hold both strands together in our hand like this. Scoop under, over, and pull it through. Okay, we're going to do this. We already have the slip knot, so that does count as 1. So that's 2, 3, that's 4. Oops, I'm having a trouble here. 5, 6, 7, 8. Now I'm going to go ahead and do 40 more, and once I have 48 stitches cast on, I will come back. Okay, now that I've gotten 48 stitches cast on, I want to double check to make sure I had the correct number, and I've gone ahead and I have double checked the number of loops so that I have 48. Now we're going to do that little trick again, and before I do that, I am going to take this wire, I'm going to split this in two and very carefully pull the wire through. This is going to shorten my loop as I start. Okay, and I want to make sure that these loops do not get twisted at all. Okay, so once I get over here, I'm going to get my yarn in my left hand, and just like we did before, we are going to take one loop off of one side so that we start having these connected. Okay, so I'm going to take, it's a handful at first, take this loop off of here, and then I'm going to take one loop off of the other side, and I'm going to exchange them. This loop here and this loop on this side. Okay, now I'm going to begin by working 2 knits and then 2 purls all the way around. Oh, wait a minute, one more thing. I'm going to go ahead and put a stitch marker right here on my needle so that I know where I am as I go around. Okay, now this is going to be the trickiest round, but once we get through this, it gets better. Okay, I'm going to knit 2, that's 1, 2, and now for 2 purls. And this is mostly tricky because of this wire. Let me go ahead and pull this out a little bit more to loosen it. And then 2 purls, 1 and 2. Okay, and then a knit, 1, 2, and then a purl, 2 purls rather, 1, 2. We're just going to continue all the way around in the circle. Knit 2, and then purl 2. Remember, the purl is bringing the yarn towards the front, and the needle comes towards you in the front. Wrap and slip off. Then 2 knit, and then 2 purl. So go ahead and do this all the way around. Okay, this is where I am after 8 rounds, and I have been using a stitch marker, which is right here, and you can continue using that stitch marker if you want to. Let me give you a little hint or heads up too. If you don't have a stitch marker, oftentimes this little extra strand from the beginning serves as my stitch marker, and I know that my new row starts here. But if you don't want to go according to that, you can just use the stitch marker. I'm actually going to take it off right now because we're ready to change to the larger size knitting needles. Remember, I'm using a size 13, which is a 9mm. Now, changing the needles is actually quite easy. You don't have to take all the loops off or anything like that. All you do, let me get my other needle untangled there. Here we go. All you do is continue knitting. You can actually pull this out because we're not going to need that needle any longer. You're just going to transfer by starting with the larger one in your dominant hand, and we are going to just do simply the knit stitch all the way around until this section from the brim to where we are knitting is approximately 6 inches, or however long you want the hat to be for the most part. Okay, so to do this, we just insert our needle, and let's go ahead and push them down towards the end here, and we just knit. We're just going to be knitting for a while now. I mean, this is the fun part. You don't have to count or worry. You just go round and round and round, just knitting your heart out there. Just and this is where good muscle memory is going to be picked up. If you're still struggling with where to put the yarn, I'll go a little bit slow here. Insert, wrap, pull up the loop, and slide off. And I'm gonna try to go a little bit fast just to show you. And I have only been doing this for maybe 6 weeks, okay, and not a lot, but I'm gonna just show you how easy this can be. And I've also been watching some of the comments on the YouTube channel, and it's been fun interacting with you there. And, you know, in the materials, one thing that someone commented on just how soothing it is to, you know, to work with these needles. And I've been really surprised to find out that that's been my experience too. You know, having gone from kind of not enjoying the experience at all to really enjoying it. I think part of it for me is not having the metal scrape against metal needles, which is what I started with a long time ago and did not enjoy. Using the wood, it's, you know, it's not annoying at all, and actually it's just kind of a nice, really nice feel for me personally. Of course, your experience might be very different. I know some people prefer the metal needles over anything else, and that's perfectly fine too. It's almost like buying clothes or something. Everybody has different preferences. So I'm going to just go ahead and I'm going to knit round and round and round until this piece is approximately 6 inches, and then I'll show you what I have and where we go from there. Okay, I guess I could have shown you the end. I'm going to go ahead and sneak this in. I'm going to show you the end of this round. And as you see, I'm working my way all the way off the old needles, or the smaller, actually the larger, no, these are the smaller needle. Okay, and I've worked these. Let me show you. So these I just completely worked off of this set. I'm just going to put those aside. And so now I am going to be working with the larger set, okay, with the longer, fortunately with the longer cord. So I'm going to just make 2 little loops with the cord, one here, and I'm going to come over here. I'm going to pull another loop up, and I'm only doing this because my cord is really too long, but by doing so, it makes it very easy for me to push these loops back and go round and round. And if I want to put my stitch marker back on, now that I've gotten onto the new needles, I can just slip it on there and just pass it from needle to needle as I do each round. Now we're not counting rounds this time per se, but if you want to know where the beginning of each round is, you can just leave that in. And then we just continue on until we get about 6 inches. Okay, now that I have approximately 6 inches from the brim all the way to the top, we're going to start doing our decrease rows. And for crocheters, this, I just want you to see just how easy this is going to be for you. It's I was just really astounded that I was so scared for so long of some of these things, and when I learned them, it's like, wow, that is really easy. Okay, so we're going to need to put a stitch marker there. Now, if you don't have, you know, a little official stitch marker, just take a piece of contrasting colored yarn and just wrap it around the needle. It doesn't have to be anything fancy. You don't have to run out and buy anything. Okay, but you do need to know where the row begins and ends for these decrease rounds. Okay, so the first decrease round is going to go like this. I'm going to knit 6 stitches. Okay, 1, 2, 3, that's 4, 5, 6 stitches. Now I'm going to knit the next 2 together, and this is written with a capital K, the number 2, and then TOG. So what we're going to do is we're just going to go under 2, 1, 2, and we're going to stick our needles a little tighter through two of those, and pull the yarn through with just 2, okay, and then take them off the hook. You've made your first decrease. All right, let's do that again. We're going to do 6 more stitches. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6. I'm going to slide these down a bit. And now I'm going to knit the next 2 stitches together. Put your needle under there. Pull up that loop and slide them both off. And I've done 2 decreases now. 6 knits and then 2 knit together, 6 knits and 2 knit together. So now we're going to just do this all the way around. And full disclosure, I'm going to show you, remember I was using the pair of knitting needles with the wire that's way too long. I have 2 loops in this right now. But if that's the case with you, just make those loops smaller, or just, you can always start the hat with a smaller wire altogether. But I just wanted to show you that I just keep looping that around, and I'm going to do that more and more because this hat is going to get smaller. It's going to get a little tricky, but it's very doable. Okay, now that brings us all the way around, and we should have our stitch marker here. And let's go ahead and put it on the needle again. Now that we had finished that first decrease round, we have worked 6 repeats of that, so that would be 6 decreases. So now our stitch count, or if you count the loops all the way around, you should have 42. If you're off by 1, it's really not the end of the world. It's not a big deal. It's just a hat. But if you want to get it just right, you just want to make sure that you do have 42 loops. Okay, you can always add a decrease to the next round, or the forthcoming rounds, to make up the difference if you wanted to, but it's not a real big deal if you're off by 1 or 2 stitches here. Now for the next round that we do, we're going to just knit everything together, no decreases for this round. Okay, so go ahead and just knit everything together until you get everything together, 1 stitch each, until you get to that stitch marker again, and then I'll give you more instructions. Okay, now that I've finished working that knit every stitch round, I'm going to take the stitch marker, put it back, and the next round we're going to knit 5 together, and then, knit in 5 stitches, 1 knit stitch each, and then knit 2 together. So let me go ahead and get my wire ready to work here. Okay, it's getting a little tight. So 5 stitches. That's 1, 2, 3, 4. Let's push these stitches down. 5. So 5 stitches, and now it's time to knit 2 together for another decrease. So I go ahead and knit those 2 together. Okay, so go ahead and work that all the way around. 1, knit each of 5 stitches, and then knit 2 together. Okay, at the end of that round, you should have worked 6 more decreases as you've gone around. And that should leave you with 36 stitches. Let's go ahead and move that stitch marker. The next round we are going to do just like we did 2 rounds previously. We're just going to knit everything together. So just work that knit stitch all the way around on those 36 stitches. Okay, now that we've completed that round, which was just the knit round, I wanted to show you how the knit decreases are developing. Okay, this is what you should be seeing, these little lines where the decreases are. So this should be getting to be easier to see. Okay, well, the next round that we're going to work is going to be a different multiple. It's going to be working 4 stitches, or 4 knit stitches, and then knitting 2 together for a decrease. So I'm going to go ahead and get this ready to work here. Okay, so we're going to knit 4. That's 1, 2, 3, 4. And then after we knit 4, we're going to knit 2 together. I can get that in just right. And pull those off. So just like that, knit 4 and then knit 2 together all the way around the hat. Okay, after that round, you can see my hat is getting much smaller. And let's go ahead and put that stitch marker back on. And this is going to be another round of just knitting all of the stitches together. So you should have only 30 stitches after this round. So let's go ahead and we're going to just knit each stitch all the way around on those 30 stitches. Okay, after working that round, I'm just going to replace my stitch marker again. As you can see, we're getting smaller and smaller, and this is going to be another decrease round. And you've probably guessed what we're going to do here. We're going to knit 3, 1, 2, 3, and then we're going to knit 2 together. Make sure you get all the fibers through when you put those two together. It's easy to have the yarn not, you know, kind of split on you if you're not careful. Okay, so we're just going to knit 3, 1, 2, 3, and then we knit 2 together. And it is getting a bit tight. Okay, so we'll do that all the way around. Okay, after that round, go ahead and transfer that stitch marker again. If you haven't lost it already, I've dropped this one a few times. Now we're just going to knit each stitch around. We should be down to 24 stitches, because with each of the decreased rounds we are losing, or not losing, but we are decreasing 6 stitches. Okay, so go ahead and knit each stitch all the way around. Now let me show you where we are now. I still have my two big loops so that I can keep working in smaller and smaller areas. For this round, we are going to work, we're going to knit 2 and then knit 2 together. So let's knit 2, that's 1, 2, and then we're going to knit 2 together like this. Okay, I'm going to knit 2, 1, 2. Let's push these down. It's getting really tight. And then we're going to knit 2 together. Okay, for this last round, we're going to knit 1 and then knit 2 together. I just wanted to see how tight this is for me right now. But by twisting those cables, I can still knit within reason. Okay, see how much? There we go. So we're going to knit 1 and then knit 2 together. And this is getting a little tight, but it's still doable. That's one thing I like about these big wooden hooks and the big thick yarn. So knit 1 and then we're going to knit 2 together. I'm going to have to pull some more yarn around here in order to do this. Okay, make sure nothing slips off. I'm going to give it another big twist here. This is where those really small set, if you can afford to get, you know, a set of the small needles, that would really be helpful. Okay, so we just knit 1 there, so we're going to knit these 2 together. Okay, knit 1. This is really getting tight, and then 2 together. So go ahead and do that all the way around. Okay, after this round, you should have 12 loops left on the wires, or on, you know, on the knitting needles. Okay, so now what we're going to do, we're going to cut a long strand, I'd say maybe 12 to 14 inches long. Go ahead and cut that. And now we are going to take this thread that's attached to the hat. We're going to go ahead and thread our yarn needle just like that. Okay, and what we're going to do is we're going to take these off of the needles. Okay, the way we're going to do this, we have our thread and our needle, and we are going to start with the next loop. We're going to go around in each of the loops. Now you can actually take the needles out at this point. I'm gonna prefer to leave them in just so that I can run this under all 12 of the loops. I guess I'm just a little shy of, I don't want to drop a stitch at this point, because if you drop a stitch, unlike crochet where it wouldn't be a big deal, it's a tremendous deal with a knit project, because you can easily get a run in your hat. Okay, so at this point I've gone all the way around. So now I'm going to gently remove the crochet hooks. I'm sorry, listen to me, the crochet hooks. The knitting needles, gee. Okay. Let's go ahead and pull that out. Give it a little bit of encouragement. Maybe it is easier to just take them out first, but I wanted to thread that through. So once I've threaded that through, give it a nice little tug. I wanted to show you what that does. It pulls the top of our hat closed. Now I'm going to go ahead, before I go any further, I'm going to go into the center, and I'm going to turn my hat inside out, because I don't want to hide the string on the outside. Obviously I want to do this on the inside. And so what I'm going to do, I'm going to give this a little tug, because I want to have that hole, you know, as tightly closed as possible. And I'm actually going to run this around in a few more of the stitches. I'm going to go around again, because I want to make sure that hat stays closed. Okay, then we've gone around. I don't think that opening is going to go anywhere. So now I'm just going to tie a knot. Okay, that looks good. And I'm going to run it under a couple of stitches more, just to make sure the seam is hidden for a long, long time. If you have a different finishing technique on hats, feel free to use it. This is just a suggestion for how I'm doing my hat. And now that I've done that, I'm going to very carefully cut the strand. And as you can see, you don't see the strand at all, and I don't believe it's in any danger of ever coming undone. Okay, I do have one more strand to hide, which is this one. So I'm going to go ahead and hide this strand. But let's go ahead, and we have one more thing to do, and that is at the beginning of this we were talking about attaching a pom-pom. This is a purchased pom-pom, and I think it would really match these hat colors very well. So before we do that, let me show you how this is attached. Okay, deep in here in all this fuzz, there is a loop. Let me get a crochet hook. Okay, now that I found my crochet hook, I was able to, you know, dig out the elastic. Now this little elastic makes this pom-pom detachable. This is just one style. There are many other styles I know on the market, some that have a snap or a little hook or something, but this one has this elastic tie, which is quite nice. Okay, so the first thing we're going to do is find a button. I'm going to use this button, and it doesn't have to be real pretty or decorative or anything like that. You just want something that's going to be kind of small and unobtrusive. And what we're going to do is we are going to sew that onto the inside of the hat. Okay, we're going to sew this anywhere along this center opening. Okay, after sewing the button just to the side of the center here, now what we need to do is to secure the pom-pom. We stick our hook into that center top like so, through to the other side, And then taking that hook, I'm going to find that little, it's easier said than done, find that little loop like so. And then I pull it through the hat like this. And then wrap that around the button. Let's see if I can do this. Okay, there it is, nice and tight. And our pom-pom is secure. And there you have it. We have our matching striped pom-pom hat. Okay, so that can match our cowl. I still have that one string to hide here, but that won't take me but a second to do. So I hope you enjoyed this project. This is a fun and easy way to make a beginning knitting hat. And if you haven't already, please subscribe to my channel so that you don't miss any of the new videos that I have coming for both crochet and beginning knit projects. God bless. Bye-bye.